republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back. It is a Monday morning, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And winter has arrived, folks. Winter has arrived. We went from 80 degrees to like 40 degrees and 30-mile-an-hour winds and rain and frost and snow, not here, but snow all around us. So that was that's a pretty interesting change. I've had to correct some people as we talk about the weather around here. You know, it was so hot for so long. I mean, Friday was 80 degrees, and then all of a sudden Saturday we woke up to frost and no more 80 degrees. And I'm not complaining. You have to adjust to get to the cold, a little bit. But it was time. It was time for winter to start. Winter should have started. Fall weather should have started a month ago. And even my wife, I was talking to her, and she's like, "Well, we it shouldn't be this cold right now." And I'm like, "No, it shouldn't be 80 degrees in the middle of October. That should have been over with in September." So it's kind of interesting. We're lulled into the fact that we think it's going to be so nice for so long. We get used to it, and then all of a sudden it's just an abrupt stop, man. Someone pulled that brake lever, and here we are. Here's fall. Here's winter. And it was kind of interesting because I actually had a class. I had a class on Sunday, and it was a group of women from my women's academy. They were going to come over and do a little draw and shoot. And as soon as I woke up Saturday morning, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be really cold. And I was hoping Sunday'd warm up just a little bit, but it didn't. And I think the wind actually blew even harder. But they showed up, and you can see pictures on Facebook, and we worked on the draw stroke. You can do that inside the classroom, right? You start with what we call finger guns, so an empty holster and just your hand. We kind of learn the 6-step process for that. Then we learn all the variances of it, and then we move into using actual firearms. But what we do is, Magnum was there. He's a listener, and he was there helping me that day on Sunday. And so we double and triple check the handguns, make sure there's no mags in them, and make sure they're all unloaded and cleared. And then we went ahead and we work on using actual firearms, unloaded and safety check firearms, but firearms nonetheless. And worked on that. We were inside for, hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes. Then we headed outside, and they went live on the range. Now we took each woman, each student, each lady. We took them aside one at a time, and we did this very, very controlled. And it was very interesting because it was cold. It was super cold, and I thought for sure, and this always happens in my classes, I thought for sure they were going to, I'm going to wear my gloves because it's cold. And I'm like, you can't wear your gloves when you're learning to draw. You just can't. Gun slips, something bad happens, you got a loaded firearm, you're trying to holster it, your glove gets caught in the holster. I was like, you got to learn this without gloves first. That's just the way it goes. And they were tough. I even gave them the option of coming back and actually doing the live fire portion at a different time. And they opted not to. They wanted to tough it out, and they all had a fantastic time. Fantastic time. And what it was all this was and if you looked on my Facebook, I had a few weeks back, I had like a course that I ran them through, kind of like a competition course, but, just where they could work on mag changes and stuff like that. And so this was all just a little bit of a precursor, a little taste of what the next year's Advanced Women's Academy is going to be about, where we are going to, anytime we run a course, it's going to be from the holster. That's how we're doing this, from the holster. Every time we shoot, it's going to be from the holster, and we're going to get that drilled in. I think that these ladies, they spent a good portion of their summer with me, coming out here. They were dedicated. They practiced. They got the handling down. They got the trigger press down, all that stuff. And now it's time to move forward and, have, I'm going to say more fun, because this year was fun too, but have even more fun, have better fun. So I'm looking forward to that. It looks like a good portion of them are going to sign up again, so we'll be able to grow they'll be able to grow off of what they've learned this year. And it was really cool because when we were all done and they'd kind of, when we were all done, even, Magnum came up to me and he's like, man, I was surprised at how good of shots they are. I'm like, well, heck yeah, they're good shots. They spent all summer with me, man. I could teach them trigger press. I could teach them all that good stuff. And they're good shots anyway. And the fact that they are dedicated and enjoyed getting out and handling all this stuff and handling the firearms and got good at it, got used to it, got good at shooting, that's what it is all about. And after they left, after the class was over, most of them had to hurry home. I mean, it was a weekend. It was Sunday. And a couple of them stuck around, and Magnum actually brought his rifle. He just got a suppressor for his rifle, got it out of jail, got the suppressor out of jail. So he brought it out, and we all sat there and shot the Tavor. I don't know a whole lot about rifles, but those pictures are up on Facebook, those videos of them shooting them as well. And I mean, there's some women there that are probably never even going to touch a rifle like that again. And this little, bullpup configuration type deal. And they enjoyed the heck out of it. So I got some videos doing that. Lots of fun. Lots and lots of fun. It was cold Sunday, but it was a good day. It was a great day. I even had a few of them text me and tell me how much they enjoyed that class and how much fun they had. And, some of them, a couple of them actually thanked me for my time and the effort that I had put into the class and, all year. And they actually have a few more classes coming up. But I really appreciate that. Sometimes as an instructor, you kind of wonder, right? Because a lot of times as an instructor, it's, you got to learn something before you move on to the next. And some people pick it up right away and some people don't. And they sit out here and listen to me all summer say, it's all in the trigger press. It's all in the trigger press. That is what they heard me say. It's all in the trigger press. They got to listen to that all summer long. And I didn't say it just for my health. I said it because I meant it. And they figured that out. They picked up on it, and they're very conscientious when they shoot about doing everything correctly. And so it was a lot of fun. I like to think that maybe I made a little bit of a difference for them, a difference in their life. Maybe they feel more empowered now. I know one of them was telling me she goes out early in the morning before work and goes on walks. In fact, we were talking because we kind of both walk, and I run in the area that she walks in about the same time, and she was telling me a story about how she was actually confronted by two guys it was like it's early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, and she was confronted by a couple of guys asking her for directions to find some street or some place or something like that. And they eventually left her alone, but they wouldn't leave her alone. They just kept harassing her but now she carries a gun when she goes out and walks, and she knows how to use it, and she's more confident with it, feels competent using it. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. And that was the goal of the whole class. And so I finish this up, and I just throw out there because I know there's a lot of listeners that are out of state, but I do have the registrations are on my Facebook page for the Women's Advanced Academy and the Women's Beginners Academy and the Men's Shooting Group as well. And so I'd like to get a bunch of people signed up for that. That would be absolutely fantastic. Kind of going into my slow season. And, I usually try to end the year on a big bang with, excuse the pun, but a big bang with these classes and, kind of get them sold out. And it kind of makes getting through the rest of winter and into spring a little easier, a little more bearable, a little more where my wife doesn't look at me and say, you got to go get a part-time job or something, dude. Because I really don't want to do that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm really trying to push the fact now, and I know you guys are getting sick of hearing it, but this is my little outlet. So this is the way I'm going to do it, is I'm really trying to push the point home that your permit class, again, is your permit class. It's not a training class. It's the class to get you the permit. It's not the training class. There's so much more you can build on, so much more you can learn, and I think that's what needs to happen. That firearm that you bought, it's not a magic talisman. It's not going to keep the danger away just being in a holster and never being shot, or just you bought it and you threw it in the closet and or your drawer of your nightstand, and that's where it stays. That's not gonna. You have to know how to use it. You got to be proficient with it. So, and I'll be honest with you, it pains me to say all this because I say it every single podcast, but that's just kind of what I'm going to do. It's interesting. We got an election coming up right now, and local elections, and we got stuff going on the national level, and we all just need to pay attention to what's going on. And I want to encourage everyone to get out and vote their conscience. Vote for the candidate or the person that best aligns with what you believe in. And I know it's hard, and I've talked about it before. And voting is really hard for me because I question everyone, and I don't trust people, and I'm afraid, right? I'm afraid that someone could say there's something, and then I vote for them, they get in, and they're not who they say they are. And then I feel horrible. I feel horrible like it was my fault. That was my fault. I voted this person in, and they weren't who they said they were. And that makes me feel bad, and it scares me. It scares me that that's going to happen. And I know locally right now, we got vote for governor coming up, our next governor. And I'm struggling because I know what I believe in. I know what I want. I know what party I'm affiliated with. I affiliate myself with the Libertarian Party. Don't call me a Democrat and don't call me a Republican. And I know who mostly aligns with what I want, but I just don't know if I can trust him. I get a really bad feeling about this person, but I don't want the other guy to get voted in as well. And so I don't know. Honestly, I may just have to go with the underdog guy. I may just have to go and throw my vote for the Libertarian candidate. I mean, he's got a better chance of being struck by lightning than he does becoming governor for the state of Idaho. But I'm still set when I vote. I'm still set on voting for the person that best aligns with what I believe in, the person who I can trust. And honestly, just a little bit I've read online about the Libertarian candidate, I feel like I can trust him better than I can these other guys that are shouting ads and interviews into my life and into my ears and through my radios all the time. I feel like I can trust this guy better. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Just remember, elections have consequences, and you may not see. Just vote your conscience. You do you vote you, and it'll all be good. And I don't know if we'll all be happy, but you have to feel good about your choice and about your vote, and that's what it boils down to at the very end. So. But we have got some breaking news that came out in the last couple days here out of Canada, and they have done something when it comes to firearms. So I've got some clips here. Now, all these clips, I'm just going to preface all these clips right now. Actually, all the clips you hear today are borrowed from a Coulion Noir and some Rumble posts that he put out. So, I'll tell you about all this stuff, but all the actual audio clips come from him. They're audio clips that he used in some of his articles and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and I will start with what is coming out of Canada, at least for the last couple days.
Today, our national freeze on handguns is coming into force. From today forward, it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or transfer a handgun in Canada.
There you go. I mean, that could possibly, with everything they got going on right now, that could possibly be the future of the United States. And people, and I've said it too, it's not going to happen here, it's not going to happen here, but it could happen. Look at everything that we said wasn't going to happen, and look at it. It's happening, or it's happened, right? We have to pay attention to what's going on. We need to not put our heads in the sand, hide behind the rock, and say it's not, we're not in the dark here. This could happen. And, the big push right now is interestingly enough, in the U.S. is what? They want the plastic guns, right? They want the AR-15s. They want to get what they deem, which it is not, but they deem it an assault rifle. That's what they want. They want the AR-15s. And there's, and I'm guilty. I'll say this, I'm guilty. There's a portion of people that are more into handguns, or they're more into hunting or whatever, and they don't deal with these AR-15s. So they don't say anything, or they don't fight against it. Well, if they get our AR-15s, right? If they get our AR-15s, that is just the beginning. You get those, it's much easier to get everything else. That's what we have to look at. We have to look at the big picture, not what's right in front of us. I mean, and for example, that's exactly what has happened in Canada. What happened? And I think it was 2020. They actually came out, and I'll play the clip. They actually banned AR-15s and like a whole bunch of other different firearms, right, in Canada. And now they're coming after the handguns.
We are closing the market for military-grade assault weapons in Canada. We are banning 1,500 models and variants of these firearms by way of regulations.
So there you go. I mean, that was in 2020. They went in and they banned all those variants and what they called military-style weapons, AR-15s, and there might have been a good portion of the crowd that was like, oh, whatever. I still have this gun. Well, obviously you can't, because a mere 2 years later, they come after the handguns. And it's very interesting because, you know, we all have to come together, and this is going to be the theme of today's podcast, and you'll kind of see it toward the end here, but we all have to come together, all the different users and firearms people, the whole entire community. We have to come together, and we have to support each other, whether we use that gun or not. And I'm to blame. I've done this. I have an AR. I have a couple of them, actually, but I'm not real into it. And guess what? I'm not into building my own. I'm not into class 3 type stuff. But as the ATF continually and tries to come after this stuff, and what do I go? I don't have this stuff. Whatever. I mean, I don't want to see it go away, but it doesn't. How's that going to affect me? Well, it will affect me, because the more they get, the more they're going to want. And it's a very interesting thing, because, you know, we have to actually have a future of our kids. Our youth are our future. And look at what has happened over the years, right? Look at what has happened over the years. You got people that you have a youth, you have kids, that they're the next generation. They're the ones that we are fighting for our rights, to keep our rights around for, right? A lot of them don't care about firearms. And why is that? Because the left has come after them. The left has made it so they have grown up. They have put this firearms, like anti-gun type stuff in school, to where, you know, you chew a Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun and they get kicked out of school. You're talking about guns, bad. I send my kid with a hat with my business, my Patriot Defense business logo on it. That's bad. Can't have that. Go home. You're suspended. Anything to do with firearms, they are putting the kibosh on, and they are punishing. So what? And they're starting young, little. So what are they doing? They are programming our kids. They are brainwashing our kids. And if you don't believe me, they have come out and said it. They've come out and said it in plain sight, just for the world to hear.
I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
And they do this with absolutely everything. I mean, we're talking about firearms right now, but they've done it too, also with the to creating that over worship for first responders, that over worship for military, that over worship, right, for law enforcement. Not that some of them don't deserve praise, but they're not all fantastic. They're not all great. They're no better than us, but they are going to force that on us because they want us to believe all that for some reason and raise these people up on a pedestal. They're doing the same thing right now when it comes to guns, when it comes to rifle, that's what they're doing with the youth. They are brainwashing them to think that they don't need them, that they don't care one way or another. So they're not going to fight for them, right? Because they may not come get our guns now. I mean, they're going to try, obviously. But what it is they do it. They drip it in little by little by little. We've always talked about this. It's a little here, it's a little there, and that makes the big picture. That's the way they're going to do it. That's the way they're going to have to do it in the United States, because we do have our Second Amendment, right? They have to do it that way. That's the way it has to be done. Where in Canada, they don't have a Second Amendment, so they can just come in and say, nope, take it away. 2 years later, nope, we're going to take that one away too. Okay, that's what they're doing here. And if they drip it in right now and they brainwash those kids, they brainwash all those kids, then you will see that when the next generation is up. It's a lot easier for them to come in and do whatever they want because that generation doesn't care. They've been programmed, they've been taught their entire lives that guns are bad, guns are horrible, guns are evil. And, I've seen this firsthand, not with the firearms thing, but I've seen how they attack the kids. I've got a 9-year-old, right? And during COVID, during the COVID situation, before the kids were sent home, and my son, I love my son to death, obviously. He is a rule follower. And, they're so young and their minds are they're so pliable, right? And you can teach them and have them do whatever you want. And granted, they pushed all this stuff in school before they locked him down about you got to wash your hands, you got to do this, you got to do that, you don't want to get sick, you're going to die. My poor son. I mean, it upsets me just to even talk about it. That, they're so malleable at that age. That my poor son came home, even during the lockdown. That kid would touch something on the floor and he would go and wash his hands. They turned him into a nervous wreck. He'd touch a doorknob, he'd run and wash his hands. He would touch the cat or the dog, he would run and wash his hands. He was washing his little hands, his little 8-year-old hands, 7-year-old hands, so much that they were cracking and bleeding. He wore we didn't really have masks here. So if you went out and he wore a buff, that's what he wore to school. It hung around his neck and he pulled at his face. It made him look like, cops and robbers, and he thought that was kind of cool. But he was so paranoid about it that even when he didn't have to wear that stuff, even when he wasn't required to wear that stuff anymore, he wanted to wear it. He had to have it. They programmed him. That's how easy it is on little kids. That's how quick and easy they can get in there, and they can shape their little brains and their minds to whatever they want. And that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. That's how this is going to play out. That's how this is going to work. And we need to pay attention to that. And another thing we need to pay attention to is and I talked a little earlier, is as a gun community, as a firearms community, we all need to come together. Because honestly, here's another clip from one of Coleone's articles, and we'll go ahead and play this. Because what this is we've got 4 people sitting around a table. Okay, so we have gun owners. We have there's about 4 different sections. We have the hunter. Okay, the guy that goes out and kills deer, kills elk, and hunts, fantastic. We have the tactician or the tactical guy, right? That's the guy that, he's Mr. Tactical. He's got the military type gear. He's got the bulletproof vest. He's got the kit. He likes to, all that stuff. Probably big into AR-15s and that's fine. He's kind of like the end of the world guy. Like he's prepping for the end of the world, right? We all have our things that we like, and that's what they like. Then we have the competitor, who I call the gamer. They probably won't like me referring him to that. But they go out and they compete, and they do IDPA. They do whatever, like the practical type shooting and stuff like that. And they go out and they compete, and they do the 3 guns. And they may compete in trap and skeet, that kind of thing, right? But they compete, so they're into firearms for competition, and that's all they see. The same way with the tactical guy. They're in for the end of the world, and they're in for running and gunning with their kits and all that stuff, and that's what they see. And you have the hunters who are in it for shooting game, and that's what they see. And then at the very end, you have the collector. You're right. You have the gun collector. And he likes to collect firearms, and he's got expensive firearms, and he doesn't really shoot the firearms that much, right? Because why? Because they're collector's items, and he doesn't want to decrease their value, right? And so we have different folks in the community that do different things, that have guns for different reasons. And here we go. Let's play this.
I'll tell you what the problem is. It's these Rambo AR-15 wielding yahoos who think they need a 100-round clip to kill a devil. First, it's a magazine, not a clip. And it's you hunters that think that the Second Amendment had anything to do with hunting that's causing the problem. The Second Amendment is about protecting your life and the preservation of a free state. You're right. The second isn't about hunting. But can we all agree that you tactical, barrel-rolling, end-of-days fantasizers aren't exactly doing the right any justice? You're the one to talk. You think running around like a man-child with a gun in your hand playing games is doing anything for all right? I mean, at least he uses his gun for a purpose. How many times can you clean a gun that you've never shot? With the grocery store in every corner, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that no one needs to hunt for food any more than a tactical guy needs his AR-15 for the looming zombie apocalypse. You see, this is the problem. We live in a civilized society, not a war zone. We should appreciate guns for the beautiful relics that they are. It's about hunting. They spend more ammo than anybody else at this table. You're useless. You're useless. You're missing the point. All of you are missing the point. To go out there and be a part of nature. Hunter, you probably shoot one round per year. Protect yourself. It is about art. It's about history.
And so there you go. I mean, and that's what it turns into, right? And I guess I've made fun of I'm not quite sure where I'd fall in this lineup of gun owners, but I mean, you know, I think some of us bleed over into one or two different categories, right? But I mean, I've made fun of the tactical guys, right? That's what I've done. Obviously I poke fun at the competitor guys that compete too, right? I call them gamers. And it is what it is. And I've made fun. We have made fun of everybody, right? And it's just one of those things. You just do that. But we have to look at this. They're going to come after all of them. As soon as they come after, get the AR-15s, they're going to come after the wood stock guns. They're going to come after the hunting guns. They're going to go after the handguns. And I don't know if it's going to be in that order, but that's the way it's going to be. You're going to have one group stand up for something. The other people are going to say, that doesn't bother me. I don't care. And then, you know, the next group's going to get taken down. They go, well, it still doesn't bother me. I don't care. But if we all stand up together, if we all rise up together and we plot and we plan and we vote and, we all have to work together to make this happen. We honestly do. We all have to work together to make this happen. And it's very interesting because you look at look at the bump stock ban, right? You know, and thank you, Trump, taking that from us. Everyone's Lord and Savior, Trump. He's the one that took that from us. And don't you forget that. And I won't let anyone forget that. That just proves my point from earlier that what? You can't, those political guys that you vote in that you love so much, just keep an eye on them, right? Because they all tend to change, right? They go ahead and feel which way the political winds are blowing. And that's the way they're going to go. But there you go. You took the bump stocks. Guess what? I don't have a bump stock. So do I really care that they're making those, that they're banning those, that they're making those illegal? Well, honestly, I do. And I stated this on the show. I stated this on the radio. I think the bump stock was just a plastic toy, right? But you can't let them have it because then they're going to come for more. But there was a good portion of people like, I don't have a bump stock. I don't care. By the way, if Trump thinks it should go, it should go. It'll be fine. I don't have one, so it doesn't concern me. That's not the way it works. You give them an inch, they will take a mile. And they will just keep coming, and it'll become easier and easier and easier and easier. We all have to come together. We have to help each other out. We all have to be one voice, not a voice divided. I actually got up in our city park. We had like a little freedom, I don't know if it was a year or 2 years ago, something like that. And I haven't ever been invited back to anything like that because I think I irritated. And there was a group of patriots and everything that they gathered, right? They had all their people that they wanted voted in, and their little group, and they asked me to come and speak at it, and I did. And I got up and said, "Hey, look, I'm not like you guys. I'm a libertarian. This is what I consider myself." And I don't agree. We don't all agree on the same things. In fact, there's a lot of things that you guys want that I don't agree with. But I do agree with some things. But we have to learn to set our differences aside. And we have to learn to come together, right? We can't have this infighting. It'll tear us apart. And the left knows that. They know that. We have to come together and stay unified, stay united, and stand up for this. And they all clapped, and I was done, and I got off the stage, but I've never been invited back. It's very interesting too, because some of the people I know who are running have since almost like distanced themselves from me a little bit. And sometimes I think them just, posting stuff with me on Facebook, or about me on Facebook or whatever. I think that has reflected poorly on them in the past. In fact, I made a offhanded comment on my radio not my radio show, but on on a radio show today, and it probably is going to come back and bite me, I'm sure. But, we all need to come together. We all need to come together. We need to face the facts. We need to face that we're all a little different, but we all have the same goal in mind, and we have to come together. We're not going to get this thing done. We're just not. They have to have us separated. They have to have us divided. And on that note, I'm going to get out of here because I can go on for another 40 minutes like this, but I'm just going to be repeating myself in different ways. It's going to be the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I do appreciate all the support. If you notice, the podcast usually used to come out on the weekends, and now they're coming out on Monday, sometimes Tuesday. Life happens, things change. I can't tell you when, but I'm going to try to get one out every single week. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying, but I do appreciate the support. Share this on social media with your friends and family. If you got any questions or comments, you can call me. You can text me, area code 620-794-6223. It's area code 620-794-6223. Hey, if you got any cool stories or anything like that, and you want to get on the podcast, and you pass my vibe check, I'll get you on the podcast. We're coming into winter. Hopefully I can get some of the guys back. Stuff will start slowing down. It'll be more than just me. If you want to help support the podcast, we do have a Patreon. You can go over to Patreon. It's like $5, so like $5 at it. That would help me with equipment. That helped me with upload fees, bandwidth fees, that kind of stuff. I don't really make any money off the podcast, but it does cost money to put on, and I do it because it gives me a place to rant when my wife kicks me out of the house and says, go tell someone else this crap that you're telling me. She didn't want to hear it anymore, so you guys get to. So there you go. I will be back. When will I be back? I'll be back this weekend. I got a big permit class on Saturday, so I probably won't get anything done till Sunday or Monday, but I'll get another one out. Talk to you guys later. Bye.